I'm Marty Kaiser, the editor of the Journal Sentinel. Thank you for coming in today. Several Republican members of Congress have really broken with tradition in the last couple of weeks, criticizing their own party for refusal to compromise. And they're saying it's hurting the ability of Congress to govern. One of those Republicans was Representative Latourette of Ohio, and he recalled receiving a phone call after he and Jim Cooper of Tennessee proposed legislation that would enact the Simpson-Bowles reduction plan. And as you know, that involved some tax cuts, cutting the deficit by $4 trillion. And you know that Grover Norquist has been very critical of that bipartisan effort. Now nearly every Republican in Congress and almost all Republican candidates, including Mitt Romney, have signed the pledge of Grover Norquist to not raise taxes. And now some Republicans say that the reason Congress cannot pass that grand bargain of the Simpson-Bowles last year is because they wouldn't compromise. And now we have this fiscal cliff. We had stories today about business leaders saying it's already hurting the economy. You're a candidate of the Tea Party, which has been purging what it calls moderate Republicans, both in 2010 and 2012. So one of your opponents, Tommy Thompson, has this reputation of a pragmatist who's worked with Democrats in the past. Wouldn't it be good to have a U.S. Senator who has a reputation of being a pragmatist and not being an ideologue?
Where to begin? Wouldn't it be great to have a United States Senator who has been in the battles before, inherited a massive deficit and growing debts like we have today, and been one of the principal architects of the plans that led to a balanced budget, not through higher taxes, in fact, along with some very substantial tax cuts. When it comes to the art of compromise and getting along, I would first point out that back in the 90s when we got the budget balanced, we had a Democrat president and we had Newt Gingrich, and they were fairly far apart in terms of their views on how the country should be governed, and we did get the job done. In fact, we balanced the budget, we cut taxes, and restored our economy. But I want to be a little more specific, and I'm not going to...
So these Republicans that are saying that Republicans that are angry and the way they're conducting themselves are wrong.
Let me suggest to you that there are places where we can compromise and there are places we cannot compromise. And again, I'm not going to walk through what this page is. It's the numbers that show us how to get to a balanced budget. Our budget plan literally has the numbers written. This is how much we can spend each year. And if we stay in those spending parameters, it's highly likely we're going to balance the budget inside of 5 years. Okay? I would not compromise on that. That would be a fundamental principle.
Mark, what's your percent of GDP that you'd be willing to go up to?
We lock it at about 18.
About 18, okay.
Yeah. But
in perpetuity, or is there some leeway?
We actually do
forward?
just a hair under that, and then we tie it to the growth in GDP on a longer term.
Okay.
That's how. Remember, our plan goes to the next step. We sidetracked here, but the next step is after we get to balance, we still have a massive debt hanging over our head. So we have laid out a plan to pay off the debt, much like my home buyers pay off a 30-year mortgage.
Okay, sorry to interrupt. Thank you.
The compromise question, though, is a key question in understanding what happened when I was in Congress in the 90s and how I think we can get the job done again. We don't compromise on the numbers. We don't compromise on the amount of money that we allow to be spent. The way you still get the job done is if somebody wants a different, this is my list of 150 specific line item entries that we have laid out. If somebody comes to me and says, Mark, number 5 on that list, that's really an important program and here's why. And here's another program that's less important that we could do instead. That's my idea of working across the aisle and working where we have to get the job done. So would I be willing to have a different budget cut than what I'm on my 150 and still obtain my numbers? Absolutely. But that's how you get the job done. You have to be in a debate about the priority of spending in government with a finite number in place as to how far you're willing to go. And I would suggest to you that that is exactly what your business does here at the paper, and it's probably exactly what you do in your families.